Dear students, today we are discussing about critical reading strategies and different types of reading. We have already seen what is critical reading, that is an analytic activity. It has 7 strategies. Let us see the first one. Previewing. Learning about a text before really reading it is previewing. It enables readers to get a sense of what the text is about and how it is organized before reading it closely. This simple strategy includes seeing what you can learn from the head notes or other introductory material, skimming to get an overview of the content and organization, and identifying rhetorical situations. Then second one is contextualizing, placing a text in its historical, biographical and cultural context. When you read a text, you read it through the lens of your own experience. Your understanding of the words on the page and their significance is informed by what you have come to know and value from living in a particular time and place. But the text you read were all written in the past, sometimes in a radically different time and place. To read critically, you need to contextualize, to recognize the differences between your contemporary values and attitudes and those represented in the text. Then third one is questioning to understand and remember. Asking questions about the content. As students, you are accustomed to teachers asking you questions about your reading. These questions are designed to help you understand a reading and respond to it more fully, and often this technique works. When you need to understand and use new information, though it is most beneficial if you write the questions as you read the text for the first time. With this strategy, you can write questions anytime, but in difficult academic readings, you will understand the material better and remember it longer if you write a question for every paragraph or brief sections. Each question should focus on a main idea, not on an illustration or details, and each should be expressed in your own words, not just copied from the parts of the paragraph. Then fourth one is reflecting on challenges to your beliefs and values. It's examining your personal responses. The reading that you do for this class might challenge your attitudes, your unconsciously held beliefs, or your positions on current issues. As you read a text for the first time, mark an X in the margin at each point where you feel a personal challenge to your attitudes, beliefs or status. Make a brief note in the margin about what you feel or about what in the text created the challenge. Now look again at the places you marked in the text where you felt personally challenged. What patterns do you see? Questioning and summarizing is the next one. Identify the main ideas and restating them in your own words. Outlining and summarizing are especially helpful strategies for understanding the content and structure of a reading section. Whereas outlining reveals the basic structure of the text, summarizing synopsizes a selection's main argument in brief. Outlining may be part of annotating process, or it may be done separately. The key to both outlining and summarizing is being able to distinguish between the main ideas and the supporting ideas and examples. The main ideas form the backbone, the strand that holds the various parts and pieces of the text together. Outlining the main ideas helps you to discover this structure. When you make an outline, don't use the text exact words. Summarizing begins with outlining, but instead of merely listing the main ideas, a summary recomposes them to form a new text. Whereas outlining depends on a close analysis of each paragraph, summarizing also requires creative synthesis, putting ideas together again in your own words and in a condensed form shows how reading critically can lead to deeper understanding of any text. Then sixth one is evaluating an argument, testing the logic of a text as well as to credibility and emotional impact. All writers make assertions that they want you to accept as true. As a critical reader, you should not accept anything on face value, but to recognize every assertion as an argument that must be carefully evaluated. An argument has two essential parts. First one is a claim and second one is support. The claim asserts a conclusion, an idea or an opinion, a judgment or a point of view that the writer wants you to accept. The support includes reasons and evidences that give readers the basis for accepting the conclusions. When you assess an argument, you are concerned with the process of reasoning as well as its truthfulness. At the most basic level, in order for an argument to be acceptable, the support must be appropriate to the claim and the statements must be consistent with one another. Then next one is comparing and contrasting related readings, exploring likenesses and differences between texts to understand them better. Many of the authors we read are concerned with the same issues or questions, but approach how to discuss them in different ways. Fitting a text into an ongoing dialectic helps increase understanding of why an author approached of a particular issue or questions in the way he or she did. Now you can watch critical reading strategies.
This is an introduction to critical reading strategies. Our essential question is, how do I approach a text so that I can read for understanding and to complete a task? There are three aspects to approaching a text. What do we do before reading or pre-reading? What do we do during reading? And what do we do after reading? Before reading, the first thing you're going to do is read the task. What is it that you're going to have to do after you read the text? Now this might be something as simple as just understand the text, but it can also involve some of the following. Write a summary, compare or contrast with another text, or prepare for a debate or discussion. Next, you're going to scan the text. Have a look at the title, images, any subheadings, and make a prediction. When you're making your prediction, consider both what you think the text will be about after looking at the title and the images, and also what you already know about this topic. Predictions are important because it gives our brain something to watch for as we read, and it gets us ready to understand the information that's coming our way. Next, you're going to number the paragraphs. This is an easy step, but a really important one. It helps you refer back if you're writing a paragraph or an essay, or if you're in a discussion. It also helps you find key information and help other people find what you're talking about. Next, you're going to read the first and last paragraphs. Once you've read these important paragraphs, add to or change your prediction. Most of these strategies are good for non-fiction texts, and you can use them for fiction, but I would not do this step with a story. You don't want to read the end before you've read the whole story. Now we come to what we do during reading. Once we've done some pre-reading and some thinking, we're going to read the text. For some of us, this is tough. Put your pencils down. Read it once through for a general understanding. Then you're going to read the text again. Now you pick up your pencil and you're going to mark the text. This can be done in lots of different ways. Some methods that we're going to look at are the following 4. One of them is to circle keywords and underline claims. Another method is called insert symbols, and it is what it sounds like. Another one that has a good name is writing in the margins. And finally, something that most of us are familiar with is highlighting anything that stands out. Now, some of these methods don't work very well if you're working with a textbook and you're not allowed to write in it. However, you can get around this by using sticky notes and flags and tabs. Let's have a look at method number 1, circling keywords and underlining claims. Keywords are words that are repeated, related to the topic, perhaps something that you don't know, or words that seem important somehow. Obviously, you don't count repeated words like the but other key vocabulary words that are repeated might be important to your understanding. Claims are arguable statements, statements that someone could argue one way or another, and they might be backed up by statistical evidence, anecdotes, or expert testimony. This method is really good if you're trying to understand an argument. Method number 2 is inserting symbols as you read. You can choose your own symbols that have meaning to you, or you can start off with these ones. You can use a check mark if you know this already, or if you agree with something that you've read. An addition sign is for something new to you because it adds to your knowledge. A subtraction sign is when you encounter something that's different from what you thought. You can use an exclamation for something that surprises you. And a question mark isn't so much if you're confused about something, though you can certainly use it for that, but more about something that makes you wonder about more information or connections to something else. Method number 3 is writing in the margins. Now this one can be used in lots of different ways, and it is what it sounds like. You write all over the text, mostly in the margins where there's space. It can look a little something like this, where you draw arrows and add questions, make notes to yourself, and possibly along the side, add short summaries of what each section is about. This one is good if you have to summarize an article and just for general understanding. Highlighting standouts is a familiar strategy, but one that can be actually kind of hard to do, because we're often tempted to highlight way too much or not enough. But the key idea is that you are highlighting anything that either stands out to you because you make a personal connection, or perhaps something that you think is important. Now we come to what happens after reading. You're going to first reflect on your own ideas. Look back and consider, how was your prediction? Did your opinion change? What did you learn or enjoy or dislike about what you read? And can you make any personal connections? Next, reflect on your understanding of the text itself. Consider, do I understand the information? Can I identify the author's main point or argument? And what do I need to clarify about my understanding? Last, you're going to revisit your marked up text in order to complete the task. You can consider, do I understand the task now that I've read the text? And am I ready to complete the task? And the best part is you have this text that you marked up and you made notes, and you can look back for all of the information you need to complete your task, whatever it might have looked like.
Next we come to another topic, the 4 main types of reading techniques. Okay, let us see the first one, skimming, second one scanning, then third intensive, then fourth one is extensive. Okay, see the first one, skimming. Skimming is sometimes referred to as gist reading. Skimming may help in order to know what the text is about and its most basic level. You might typically do this with a magazine or newspaper, and would help you mentally and quickly shortlist those articles which you might consider for a deeper read. You might typically skim to search for a name in a telephone directory. You can reach a speed count of even 700 words per minute if you train yourself well in this particular method. Comprehension is of course very low, and understanding of overall content is very superficial. Second one is scanning. Picture yourself visiting a historical city, guidebook in hand. You would most probably just scan the guidebook to see which site you might want to visit. Scanning involves getting your eyes to quickly scuttle across sentence and is used to get just a simple piece of information. Interestingly, research has concluded that reading of a computer screen actually inhibits the pathways to effective scanning, and thus reading of a paper is far more conducive to speedy comprehension of text. Something students sometimes do not give enough importance to is illustrations. These should be included in your scanning. Special attention to the introduction and the conclusion should also be paid. The next one is intensive reading. You need to have your aims clear in mind when undertaking intensive reading. Remember, this is going to be far more time consuming than scanning or skimming. If you need to list the chronology of events in a long passage, you will need to read it intensively. This type of reading has indeed beneficial to language learners as it helps them to understand vocabulary by deducing the meaning of words in the context. It moreover help with the retention of information for long periods of time, and knowledge resulting from intensive reading persist in your long term memory. This is one reason why reading huge amounts of information just before an exam does not work very well. When students do this, they undertake neither type of reading process effectively, especially neglecting intensive reading. They may remember the answers in an exam, but will likely to forget everything soon afterwards. Then see the next one, extensive reading. Extensive reading involves reading for pleasure, because there is an element of enjoyment in extensive reading. It is unlikely that students will undertake extensive reading of a text they do not like. It also requires a fluid decoding and assimilation of the text and content in front of you. If the text is difficult and you stop every few minutes to figure out what is being said or to look up new words in the dictionary, you are breaking your connection and diverting your thoughts. Is the ability to learn and assimilate information genetic? It is not uncommon for people to associate intelligent and bright kids with their equally intelligent parents. Often children of parents exercising a profession appear to be more intelligent. However, it is important to note first and foremost that academic intelligence is only one form of intelligence, and even a university professor who scores high on academic intelligence might be the most impractical person, finding it difficult to pragmatically solve problems to simple everyday tasks. The notion of intelligence is an extremely complex and diverse one, and to pin it into just a single word means whipping out the multitude of connotations and meanings that it actually embodies. Scientists have found that no plausible relationship between our genes and our ability to learn or our intelligence. There is no genetic DNA test that can predict intelligence, because intelligence is due to your environment. It is likely that children with parents who exercise a profession appear more intelligent because their parents directly or indirectly encourage it. Likely, it is also evident that parents who neglect their children and do not enforce their schooling commitments, doing homework, study periods, etc., will perform less well in school and appear less intelligent. Again, it is evident why children who have had no opportunity for schooling might consider anything but intelligent. When we conclude the topic reading, it is an essential skill that a student needs. Critical reading is an analytical activity. The reader rereads a text to identify patterns of elements from information, values, assumptions, and language usage throughout the discussion. These elements are tied together in an interpretation and assertion of an underlying meaning of the text as a whole. To read critically is to make judgments about how a text is argued. This is a highly reflective skill requiring you to stand back and gain some distance from the text you are reading.